Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. I was reborn. At that moment, I was kneeling in front of Ryan Young. Everyone around us was laughing out loud. The proud Aries of the Walker family had finally hit rock bottom. What a shameless lapdog. In my past life, Ryan had fallen in love with a foreign exchange student. He skipped classes to be with her, raced cars, indulged in extravagance, and threw his academic future away in a whirlwind of recklessness. I tried to stop him. I turned around and jumped straight into the same river behind us. I didn't die, but I was left permanently disabled. I had to give up my studies and return to the States, living in misery for 5 more years. During those 5 years, Ryan got back on track. He started a business, got married, and reached the peak of his life. Meanwhile, I suffered from complications and eventually died on the roadside without dignity. Now that I had the chance to start over, I decided to give up on Ryan Young and reclaim the life that belonged to me. I was jolted awake by the sound of deafening laughter. When I opened my eyes, Ryan was standing over me, looking down with a face full of disgust. This wasn't the first time I had experienced this scene. In my last life, when he was about to leave without hesitation, I stood up before he could take a step, and I threw myself into the scene. I vaguely remembered shouting, "Ryan Young, you'll regret this." And Ryan did regret it, but not because of me. He only came to his senses later after realizing that his recklessness had caused his family to give up on him, and that he couldn't give Lindsay Shaw the perfect life she deserved. That's when he woke up, worked hard, and eventually got married and had children, building a happy life. And me, because I never finished school, my family abandoned me. I died alone, miserably on the street. It took me an entire lifetime to learn one cruel truth. Ryan Young had never loved me. As my memories returned, I stood up unsteadily among the crowd's endless mocking. Oh, she's standing up now. What's Princess Walker going to do? Jump into the river again? Try emotional blackmail? Haha. Even if she dies, it's useless. If she really dies, our Ryan can finally be with Lindsay without any more drama. They're a perfect match, meant to be. Walker's precious girl got kicked out of France and dumped back in Ocean City. What a joke. They were right. It was self-humiliation. How could I have been foolish enough to think I could stop Ryan Young, who was already obsessed with Lindsay Shaw? It was ridiculous. Completely delusional. I tugged at the corner of my mouth and looked up to meet Ryan's gaze. For a brief moment, we stared at each other. I gave him a faint smile and slowly stepped back, putting some distance between us. Ryan Young, I was wrong. I shouldn't have tried to stop you from chasing the woman you truly love, and I shouldn't have interfered in your life. I'll talk to my family and call off the engagement. Starting today, you're free. Ryan's expression shifted. For a second, his face filled with surprise. I didn't give him a chance to speak, nor did I want to stay near this group of bloodsuckers who flocked to him. I gently brushed the dirt off my clothes and turned to leave the scene. Lena Walker, what do you mean by that? Ryan shouted behind me, finally reacting, but I didn't stop. I didn't pause for a second under their stunned and scornful stares. I left without hesitation. From that day on, I threw myself into my studies, doing everything I could to shut out all news about Ryan Young and Lindsay Shaw. After several sleepless nights, my stomach began to ache again. An old problem left over from my time studying abroad, caused by irregular meals. Back then, Ryan used to tease me. You don't have a CEO's fate, but you sure have a CEO's illness. Now that I think about it, that teasing already said it all. Just as I was about to pass out from the pain, my phone suddenly rang. I glanced at the screen and saw Ryan's name faintly still saved in my contacts. Even though I had decided to let him go because of the relationship between our families, I couldn't just block him from my life like a complete stranger. So, I forced myself to stay conscious and pressed the answer button. But instead of his voice, I heard a chirpy girl on the line speaking with smug confidence as if declaring her territory. I just saw a missed call from you on Ryan's phone. So, I just wanted to ask, who are you? Why did you call him so many times? Her words snapped me back to reality. I instantly realized the caller was Lindsay Shaw, and clearly Ryan Young had already deleted my number. All she could see now were the countless missed calls from what must look like a stranger. "I'm Lena Walker," I said weakly, barely managing to get the words out. There was a beat of silence. Then Lindsay gave a few soft chuckles and said, "Well, my apologies, Lena. Ryan's not here right now, and I really don't know why he deleted your number." Tears streamed uncontrollably down my face from the pain. I had no strength left to chat with her, so I hung up immediately. When I opened my eyes again, I was already lying in a hospital bed. The doctor was scolding me harshly. If I had come in any later, my stomach would have ruptured and I'd be done for. My classmate, who had brought me in, turned to look at me and saw that I was staring blankly at the ceiling. She snapped, frustrated, "Where's that fiancé of yours who's always glued to your side? Doesn't he know how dangerous this was?" I turned to look at her. After thinking for a moment, I replied calmly, "He won't be my fiancé for much longer. He has no obligation to take care of me." She rolled her eyes at me, just about to speak again when hurried footsteps echoed down the hallway. A moment later, Ryan appeared at the door, reeking faintly of alcohol. It made me nauseous. "What are you doing here? Do you need something?" "Not really," he said. "I just heard, so I came to check on you." My classmate gave him a glance, got the hint, and left the room. I stared at his careless expression and fell into silence. Ryan walked over to the bed like it was no big deal, and glanced at the name tag above my head. I never invited him to sit, but he pulled out the chair beside me anyway and sat down casually. I looked away and stared at the 4 in my arm. He started babbling, clearly trying to make small talk. "So yesterday I went to a bar with some friends, and some idiot spilled beer all over my pants. Super awkward. So embarrassing. It was Lindsay who did it, actually. Can you believe someone could be that clumsy?" When I didn't respond at all, he started fidgeting in his seat. Then he cautiously added, "Lena, you've really misunderstood things. Lindsay and I are just good friends. I only said I wanted to break off the engagement because you were always bossing me around and controlling everything." I gave a cold, mocking smile. My tone was detached. "That has nothing to do with me anymore. You don't need to explain anything to me." His hand paused mid-motion as he poured himself a glass of water. He looked up at me and said quietly, "Lena, are you really going through with this? I know your health and emotions haven't been great lately, so I came to check on you. We can talk about everything else later." I remained calm, my gaze growing colder. "I'm fine and there's really nothing left for us to talk about. You should go." His expression stiffened. He looked like he wanted to smile but failed miserably. The awkward disappointment on his face made it seem like he was the one being betrayed. "You're not feeling well today, so I won't argue with you," he said. "But that doesn't mean I don't have feelings. Lena, you should get some rest. We'll talk about the engagement later. But please don't be so suspicious all the time. It's exhausting for me." With that, he turned and walked out abruptly, like he was running away. The door slammed shut behind him, kicking up a thin cloud of air and stirring the dust, which stung my dry, aching eyes. Later, I called my parents to tell them I wanted to end the engagement. But instead of giving me an answer right away, they simply said it was a serious matter and the two families would have to sit down together to discuss it. But even before that conversation could happen, Ryan, the same Ryan who had told me not to bring up breaking off the engagement again, was already introducing Lindsay to his entire social circle in France just days later. The way he publicly flaunted it so eagerly put me in an impossibly awkward position. Some of my friends insisted I come out for a gathering, and I couldn't get out of it. I only arrived at the hotel near the end of the event. The moment I stepped inside, I saw Ryan sitting right in the center with his arm lazily draped around Lindsay's shoulder. Several friends looked over at me, clearly worried. I smiled, unfazed, and found a quiet corner to sit in. "What's everyone looking at me for?" I asked, calm and composed. "Shouldn't everyone be congratulating the happy couple?" I said with a faint smile. Ryan's expression shifted slightly. He looked at me from the corner of his eye and said, "Just to be clear, I heard from my family that you were the one who asked to end the engagement. If that's the case, then there's something I should make clear too." "Go ahead," I replied, my voice calm and quiet. But my fingers had already dug deep into my palm. "We could have parted ways with dignity and rationality. But he had to pull a stunt like this just to prove something to Lindsay, leaving me humiliated in front of everyone. "We've been engaged for a few years," he said. "But the feelings between us have faded. Lindsay is kind and innocent. I don't want her to be wronged or have people think she came between us. Since you were the one who chose to walk away, I think it's only right I give her an official title." I nodded, stood up, picked up the glass of red wine from the table, and locked eyes with him. "Got it. Then I wish you both happiness." With that, I downed the entire glass in one go. Just as I turned to leave, Ryan spoke again. "The love may be gone, but there's still kindness between us. We can still be friends. If you ever need anything, you can still come to me." My hand paused slightly on the doorknob. I smiled, a cold curve forming at my lips. "No thanks. I don't want to be the reason someone else's girlfriend gets the wrong idea. I have too much self-respect for that." Lindsay suddenly stood up, clearly humiliated and furious. She grabbed an ashtray from the table and hurled it straight at me. I didn't react in time. It hit me square on the forehead. Blood instantly streamed down my cheek, hot drops dripping onto the back of my hand. Ryan's face changed color in an instant. He stood up, visibly flustered, but Lindsay grabbed his hands tightly, tears in her eyes. "Ryan, I didn't mean to. It's Lena. She went too far. She mocked me, looked down on me like always. All because I'm not from a prestigious background. She just wants to make sure I'll never be accepted in your circle." Ryan, flustered and guilt-ridden, held her hands back gently. "Don't be scared, Lindsay. I'm here. She won't dare do anything to you. Worst case, she'll just demand some money. She was the one who insulted you first. Honestly, she brought it on herself." I reached up to cover the wound on my forehead. My whole body felt as if it had been doused in ice-cold water, numb and burning at the same time. "Ryan Young, for the rest of my life, I never want to have anything to do with you again." Without waiting for a response, I turned and walked out. Just as I closed the door behind me, I heard someone inside chuckle. "This got pretty intense, huh? How long do you think Lena's going to hold out this time?" Ryan looked toward the door, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. "She's always been like this. A few days ago, she was kneeling in front of me, begging me not to leave. Now she's running around talking about calling off the engagement, putting on a show, if you ask me. I give it less than a week. She'll come crawling back, crying, trying to boss me around again." I let out a quiet, self-deprecating laugh. In that moment, I felt nothing but shame and pity for the person I had once been. I made a silent vow. In this lifetime, I would never look back at Ryan Young again. Back when we studied abroad, Ryan and I had bought a small apartment together near the Seine. After leaving the hotel, I went straight there. I packed up all my belongings. While passing the storage room, I caught sight of an engagement dress hanging inside. Although we had been engaged, we never held a ceremony because of school. That dress had been custom-made for me by a renowned French designer. I had planned to wear it the moment we graduated, flying home to announce our engagement to the world. But now that dress no longer had any purpose. I opened a resale app and listed the dress for sale. Then I asked the building's concierge to ship it out, and entrusted a lawyer to handle the property transfer of the apartment. As I was leaving for the last time, I took off the necklace I'd always worn around my neck and gently placed it on the coffee table. The pendant was our engagement ring, meant to be placed on my hand by Ryan himself. But that would never happen now. In the days that followed, my schedule became even more packed. As the only daughter in the Walker family, I had to be twice as capable just to survive among wolves. In my last life, my blind devotion got me discarded by my own blood. But now that life had given me another chance, I wouldn't waste it. I couldn't let myself get caught up in analyzing every chaotic, messy detail anymore. 2 weeks before graduation, Ryan showed up in the headlines again, this time on the front page of Campus Gossip News. He and Lindsay had been caught in the woods behind school going at it in broad daylight. A random passerby stumbled upon them, recording the whole thing in stunned disbelief. "Are they seriously this open?" People whispered, watching the video. "What the hell are they thinking?" Ryan had wrapped himself tightly around Lindsay, using every bit of clothing he could to cover her exposed skin. But under the camera's harsh flash, his own body was fully on display. "You don't get it," he said defiantly to the onlookers. "This is real love, the kind that embraces freedom, that doesn't care about what others think. You people would never understand what it means to live like the French. Passionate and unrestrained." Passionate maybe, but not to the point of indecency. The video quickly spread throughout campus, causing an uproar. Soon enough, people started calling Ryan the outdoor king. I looked up from my textbook at my advisor, whose face was wrinkled with concern, as if afraid that his star pupil would somehow be tainted by the mess. I smiled, turned my textbook toward him, and said, "Professor, I have a different take on this question. May I share it?" Not a single bit of it affected me. The video went viral, but Ryan didn't care. He continued parading Lindsay around like they were some kind of avant-garde couple, showing the world just how different their love was. Drag racing late at night, betting on cars, sneaking out at dawn to steal from vending machines using a coin trick, running from police while laughing like maniacs. These were all sent to me from a number I didn't recognize. I knew it was Lindsay. She was provoking me, letting me know that only she could make Ryan happy. "You're boring," she wrote. "You mean nothing to him. If it weren't for your family, he wouldn't even give you the time of day. I'm the only one he truly loves." I blocked the number without hesitation, turned off my phone, and dove straight back into the mountain of assignments waiting for me. By the early morning hours, I finally finished my last report, officially maxing out my academic credits. I closed my laptop and stretched, ready to go shower when my classmate called me. Her voice was hesitant at first, but eventually she said, "Do you want to stop by the hospital a block over? Ryan's there." I paused, then shook my head. "No, whatever happens to him now has nothing to do with me." But she pressed on, sensing something in my tone. "You sound like you've really given up on him. That's why I think you should go. Go see him. See why he's there. It might help you make up your mind for good." I wanted to refuse, but she insisted. In the end, I gave in. When I arrived at the hospital, the lobby wasn't too crowded. I spotted a few familiar faces. Guys who often hung around Ryan, whispering among themselves. "Anyone got cash? We can't just leave them like this. It's awkward. He always paid when we went out. You think we have money? What happened to his credit card? Why is it suddenly maxed out? Didn't he have a rich fiancé? Can't she just cover it? Are you stupid? You want her to pay for this kind of thing? Then again, maybe Chinese people really are that open. Maybe she won't mind." My heart sank. I pushed past them and walked straight into the examination room. From a distance, I saw Ryan and Lindsay tangled up on the hospital bed in the most ridiculous position imaginable. Cold dread washed over me. I couldn't take another step. A doctor walked over, noticed where I was looking, and asked, "Are you here to pay their medical bill?" These two were experimenting with some kind of extreme play. The equipment got stuck. If we don't operate soon, there might be permanent damage. I turned around and walked straight out of the hospital. Until graduation, I never contacted Ryan again. So, when he suddenly called me, I was caught off guard. It felt like something out of another life. "Lena Walker, are you done being dramatic yet? Where was that even coming from?" So all this time, after everything he'd done, things so reckless, so humiliating, he thought I was just throwing a tantrum, that I'd eventually crawl back like always. I glanced down at the plane ticket I had already bought for my flight home and scoffed. "You really think you're the one who's hit rock bottom? Do you really think I'd still care about you?" As soon as the words left my mouth, the other end of the line went completely silent. But I could hear Ryan's breathing grow heavier. Clearly he was angry. When he finally spoke again, his laughter was sharp and cold. "Lena Walker, we've been engaged since high school. It's been 7 years from graduation to now, about to finish grad school. You've been with me all this time. Do you really think anyone else would still want you after this?" I raised an eyebrow, completely unfazed. "Then don't worry about me," I said evenly, every word clear and cold. I hung up right after that and blocked his number for good. On the day of graduation, I had my luggage shipped back to the US early. I planned to head straight to the airport after the ceremony. From a distance, I saw Ryan sitting among the crowd. He looked noticeably thinner than before. Some classmates noticed me and stood up to greet me. "Lena, congratulations." I heard your research projects won several campus awards again. I smiled and thanked them one by one. But when I turned, I locked eyes with Lindsay. She was leaning against Ryan's shoulder, smirking smugly at me as if nothing had happened. As if that entire public scandal meant nothing. I pushed down my emotions and looked for a seat far away from Ryan. But before I could move, a classmate who didn't know the full story grabbed my arm. "Why are you sitting so far away from your fiancé?" she asked with a laugh. "Isn't he right over there? You'd better keep an eye on him before some other girl snatches him away." She tried to pull me toward the empty seat next to Ryan, even shoving Lindsay aside in the process. Lindsay stumbled awkwardly, her face going completely pale. Ryan suddenly shot up and kicked the chair I was about to sit in, nearly knocking me to the floor. Thankfully, another classmate caught me in time, though I still slammed into the side hard. "Do you have no shame, Lena?" Ryan snapped. "Didn't you say you were cutting ties with me for good? Now look at you changing your mind already." Lindsay rushed over, putting on her usual act. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she played the poor innocent girl. "Don't be like this, Ryan," she said softly. "It's okay if I suffer a little. After all, no one else knows you. And Lena already broke up. I'm your real girlfriend now." The word mistress might as well have been hanging over her head. Our classmates, who had all been chatting a moment ago, suddenly fell silent. The air was thick with tension. Everyone stared at the three of us in disbelief. All this time, I had been known as Ryan's doormat. The clingy fiancé, who would always forgive him, no matter how awful he acted. People who used to judge from the sidelines now clearly wanted to see some drama. Sure, some of them truly didn't know what had happened between us, but most were just hoping for a show. I smiled coolly, looking straight at Lindsay. "The exchange program lasts 1 year, right? When Ryan graduates and you're forced to return to your home country. How exactly are you planning to explain this at your university? Think you'll still be able to graduate smoothly?" Everyone could hear the warning in my voice. Lindsay's face went white as a sheet. She turned to Ryan in panic, silently pleading for help. Ryan slammed his hand on the table and stood up. "Lena, Lindsay is my girlfriend now. Are you seriously threatening her in front of everyone?" he growled. "Whatever happens to her after this is my family's business, not yours. And what the hell did you mean by that? Are you cursing me? Saying I won't graduate?" My smile deepened, but it felt bitter. I suddenly found myself disgusted by my own taste in men. "Ryan Young, stop barking like a rabid dog. I'm graduating today, and I'm leaving France for good. I don't have time to waste on you too." I took a breath and added with clarity, "I sincerely wish you both a long, miserable life together, perfectly suited for each other." His expression twisted instantly, his hands trembled. He finally realized something, but I didn't give him a chance to say another word. I turned and walked out of the ceremony. Once I returned to the U.S., I went with my parents to visit the Young family and formally request to end the engagement. The elders in Ryan's family clearly felt it was a pity, but when I presented the evidence I had collected from before, they had nothing left to say. I started learning the ropes in my family's business, and even agreed to my father's proposal to consider a new arranged match with someone of good character. My days quickly became filled with work, and by the second month after graduation, Ryan once texted me from a new number. I only glanced at it before deleting and blocking him again. He had written, "What are you planning to do with the apartment?" "I plan to sell it. My lawyer would handle everything." There was no way I'd waste another second of time or energy on him. By the third month, my father introduced me to Lucas Reed, the eldest son of the Reed family from Northbridge. After a few meetings, we realized we shared a lot in common. Our relationship developed quickly, and before long, we officially started dating. The night we confirmed our relationship, I received an unexpected call from Ryan. The moment I answered, the voice on the other end felt like it came from another lifetime. "Lena, haven't you caused enough drama? If you come back now, I'm still willing to forgive you. We can start over." At that moment, Lucas was walking me home. I looked at the blurry night sky, and suddenly felt like the whole thing was absurd. "Ryan," I said, "have you been drinking? Did you get into some cheap alcohol and lose your mind? Didn't your parents tell you? We already called off the engagement." I've done all of this, and you still think I'm just throwing a tantrum. He tried to say something else, but Lucas reached over and calmly took the phone from my hand. Hey man, he said. Lena and I are engaged now. Unless I misheard, were you just hitting on my fiancé? Who are you? Where's Lena? Put her on the phone. Lucas let out a soft laugh, then turned and gently kissed my lips. Sorry, he said, still holding the phone. I don't waste time talking to strangers. Goodbye. He hung up. Silence settled in the car again, but the atmosphere had shifted, charged with something warm, something close. As the air around us grew warmer, Lucas reached up and cupped my cheek. Lena, he said softly, I really do like you, not because of our families or some strategic arrangement. I'm serious about you, and I do get jealous. I smiled at his vulnerable expression and wrapped my arms around his shoulder, murmuring, I know, but don't worry. I really don't love Ryan anymore, not even a little. What I didn't expect was that Ryan would return to the country. During that time, I'd been in an amazing mood. Work was going well. My relationship was happy. I felt like I was living in a pink bubble, glowing, radiant, and full of life. I was walking out of the old house with Lucas, arm in arm, laughing as we planned to catch a late-night movie, when I saw Ryan leaning against a car door. He looked hollow, sunken, and exhausted. His gaze was heavy and cold as it followed us. I instinctively slowed down. Lucas noticed and gently traced his warm fingertips across the back of my hand, then held it tighter. Ryan looked terrible. His clothes were wrinkled and crumpled. His eyes were sunken, cheeks gaunt. He looked like a man who had been through a lot. The fatigue was written all over his face. His brows were furrowed tightly, and his bloodshot eyes were haunting. The street lights overhead cast a dim yellow glow, stretching the shadows of the three of us across the dark pavement. I didn't move. I didn't speak. But for some reason, my heart suddenly felt a pang of sorrow. In my previous life, not even death had earned me one glance back from Ryan. Lena, I was wrong, he finally said. I'm here to ask for your forgiveness. I'll go to both our families, get down on my knees, and beg them to let me make it right. Please just give me one more chance. He didn't even look at Lucas, who stood right beside me. Even though Lucas had spent most of his life in the north, people in our circle all did business together. Everyone knew everyone. And yet Ryan completely ignored his presence. It was as if he refused to acknowledge Lucas, believing he wouldn't be real. Lena, Ryan continued, I know this time you're truly angry. I know I was awful before, completely out of line, but if you're willing to forgive me just once, I swear I'll treat you right. I'll make it up to you with everything I've got. His words were full of desperation and sincerity. His tone was humble and pleading, as if the man who had once screamed at me to disappear for another girl never existed. But pain from 2 lifetimes had already rooted itself deep in my soul. The damage could never be undone. Go home, Ryan, I said quietly. It's over between us. But Ryan wouldn't leave. He begged desperately. I know I was wrong. Back then, I thought you were just trying to control me, keeping me from having fun, from being free. I thought all you ever cared about was studying, and it felt boring, suffocating. That's why I lost my head when Lindsay came into the picture. But I regret everything now. I bought back the evening gown you posted on the resale site. I didn't sell the apartment either, and the engagement rings. I'm still wearing them. As he spoke, he fumbled with his collar, pulling out the platinum necklace I had left behind. 2 rings dangled from the chain, shining under the street light. His eyes grew redder as he went on, his voice trembling. There was a desperate, pleading look in his eyes, full of cautious hope. But I still shook my head. Let me introduce someone, I said calmly. This is my boyfriend. Our families have already decided on the engagement. The ceremony will be held next week. I lifted my hand, tightly held by Lucas, and gave it a little shake right in front of Ryan's face. The color drained from his cheeks. He staggered back several steps and only managed to stay upright by grabbing onto a nearby street lamp. I didn't say another word. I pulled Lucas toward his car and walked away. Behind us, Ryan suddenly shouted, Don't do this to me, Lena. I swear I know I was wrong. I'll cut all ties with Lindsay. From now on, I won't even look at another woman. Please just give me one more chance. But I didn't stop. I didn't even look back. A few days later, the young family hosted a birthday banquet for Ryan's great-grandfather. I attended the event with Lucas. As soon as we walked in, I saw Ryan kneeling in the living room. Lindsay stood behind him, tears streaming down her face. "Grandpa," she sobbed. "I know it was my fault. I missed too many classes and got expelled. I accept the consequences. And what happened with me and Ryan? That was my mistake, too. I'll take responsibility for everything." Grandpa Young happened to see me arrive and immediately waved me over. As soon as Ryan saw me, his entire body tensed. Grandpa Young took my hand and sat me down next to him with a kind smile. "Lena," he said, "what happened before was all our fault. It's our family that wasn't good enough for you. But don't worry, we're not going to let them off easy. We'll give you a proper answer." He turned toward Ryan, still kneeling on the floor, and said in a firm voice, "Starting today, you are officially stripped of your inheritance rights. If you're willing, you can start working at the company from the bottom. If not, you're on your own. The young family won't support you anymore. And as for this woman," he added, glancing coldly at Lindsay, "you deal with her. But let me be clear. Our family has a reputation. We're not going to let your scandal drag us down." Ryan kept promising over and over, but his eyes never left me. "I'm willing to give up everything," he said. "I don't care about the inheritance. I'll take care of the Lindsay situation. All I want is to be with you, Lena. I really know I was wrong. I swear I'll change." Grandpa Young slammed his hand on the table. "You've got some nerve even saying her name," he snapped. "Don't you dare drag her down any further. Even if Lena were to forgive you, I wouldn't have the face to let you back into her life." Lindsay, sensing that things were spiraling out of control, suddenly stepped forward. She put on just the right amount of a pitiful expression, her voice soft and trembling at the perfect volume. "Grandpa Young, I'm pregnant with Ryan's baby. That child is your own blood. Part of the Young family." The elders of the Young family turned to look at her with pure disgust. One of them sneered, "We don't even want Ryan anymore. What makes you think we'd want a bastard?" Lindsay clearly hadn't expected that response. The second her little plan fell apart, she dropped all pretense. She flew into a rage and screamed, "What are you talking about? I'm carrying Ryan's child. How can you not recognize your own blood?" But before she could get any closer, the Young family's staff stepped in and restrained her. One of them twisted her arm behind her back, forcing her down. She cried out in pain, her face twisted. Ryan didn't even glance at her. He just kept his eyes locked on me. "Lena," he whispered, "can't you forgive me just one more time?" Ryan begged. I silently shook my head. "No, I can't." I never thought he'd have the guts to come looking for me again. But he did, jumping out from behind a street lamp near my house and grabbing me in a tight embrace. I let out a startled scream. My bodyguards quickly came running and pinned him to the ground. His face was pressed sideways into the pavement, already distorted from the pressure. "Lena, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please don't leave me. I got rid of Lindsay's baby. She hemorrhaged, and now she'll never be able to have children again. Can you please stop being mad at me?" My heart went cold. A chill rushed to my head, and the man I had grown up with suddenly felt like a complete stranger. I used to think he just didn't love me, that maybe deep down he truly had feelings for Lindsay. But now I knew the truth. He never loved anyone. He was just a complete heartless bastard. And to think I once believed he was the one. "Ryan," I said quietly, "Lindsay stood by you for so long. You two had so many good days together, and yet you could still treat her like this." He tried to nod, but he was completely pinned down. As soon as he opened his mouth, he inhaled a lungful of dirt and began to cough violently. The fit was so intense he nearly threw up before it finally subsided. He lay there on the ground, helpless and filthy, tears and snot streaming down his face. I used to think, why did you always have to be in control? Why did you always overshadow me and everything? It's not that I didn't love you. I just couldn't accept it. I always felt like I was nothing without you, like I was just some useless accessory to your success. The more amazing you were, the more I wanted to rebel, to prove that you weren't so special either, just because you were with me. But now you really don't want me anymore. No matter what I try, threatening you, provoking you, it doesn't work. You just keep drifting farther and farther away. And I truly regret it. Please, Lena, please give me another chance. I looked down at him, meeting his eyes, and said slowly, clearly, "Stop dreaming, Ryan." The boy I loved was bright, driven, full of life. He studied hard, fought for his future, and traveled abroad with me to chase a shared dream. We used to imagine a future together. How we'd build something great between our two families. Not this version of you. Ryan froze. Tears welled in his eyes, glowing with regret under the streetlight. But regret is the most worthless thing in the world because there's no such thing as a second chance for the past. In the distance, sirens wailed. The police had responded to the call. They arrived quickly and took Ryan away. Even as they forced him into the car, he kept struggling, crying out for another chance. I never once looked back. Lucas and I got married. On the day of the wedding, I was sitting in the bridal car on the way to the venue when I happened to glance out the window. I saw a woman curled up on the sidewalk, fighting stray dogs for scraps of food. I knocked on the divider. "Pull over, please." Outside, the woman's clothes were torn and filthy. She frantically stuffed leftovers into her mouth with her bare hands. Several civil affairs workers surrounded her, trying to coax her away. Then she suddenly looked up. Her face was twisted, crazed, and filled with madness. She screamed at anyone who came near her. "Stay away from me. Don't come near Lindsay." I blinked, stunned. That woman was Lindsay. She looked awful. Clearly, things had gone downhill fast. She didn't graduate. Her family, like leeches, had probably sucked her dry. Who knew what else she'd gone through to end up like this? But honestly, I didn't care. She meant nothing to me now. "Let's go," I said. "It's almost time." The car slowly began to move again. Then suddenly Lindsay looked straight at me. She shoved through the crowd like a lunatic and sprinted toward the car, shrieking, "Lena, stop. Please just stop. You can have Ryan back. Just give me my life back." Her cries faded behind us, growing fainter and fainter, until they were swallowed up by the wind. As if she ever had a life to return to. What use would I have for someone like Ryan now? After getting married, I fully took over the family business. From time to time, I appeared in national financial headlines, becoming a role model for the new generation of businesswomen. Ryan was sued for illegally forcing someone to get an abortion. The young family publicly announced in the papers that they had cut all ties with him. He wrote me countless letters. I never opened a single one. Years later, when Ryan was finally released after serving his sentence, he stood before me once again. But by then, there was no way he could ever get close to me. There were layers of people between us. Through the crowd, I met his gaze from afar. My daughter stood by my side, smiling up at me, brighter than the sun above. Lucas stepped forward, tall and steady, shielding the two of us. Under the flashes of cameras, the three of us, our little family, stood as a symbol of power, pride, and unshakable strength. That place next to me was supposed to be Ryan's, and he knew it. Otherwise, why would his tired, weathered eyes be so red, like a rabbit, cornered and defeated? I stared back at him calmly, clearly seeing every ounce of regret etched into his face. And that regret became the sweetest kind of closure for me. But only for a moment, because my life was no longer anything Ryan could even dream of touching.